Good morning, everyone. We're at having the Sunday session with Roy Masters, and Roy has an interesting topic today. He wants to discuss something that is in national news right now, but it's something that really applies to everyone's life in some way. And there's a deeper meaning for you as well as for the ones he wants to talk about. And I just would like you to listen carefully, listen with holding back your judgment or your decision as to what he's saying until he gets to say more about what he's going to do, because there's a message behind this for you as well as for others.
Correct.
And with those simple introduction, I'm going to turn it over to Roy, and he wants to introduce his topic.
I appreciate you, Chuck. You always help make this program much better than it would be by myself.
Okay.
And any one of you who feel that I'm talking about you and you want me to help you with what I'm going to talk about, it's called cancer and John McCain. I've picked him because if I talk about it in an ordinary way to ordinary people, people don't take any advantage of that, or it isn't so powerful. Mm-hmm. John McCain is a noble human being, a magnificent person, a magnificent American that all of us should be. But look what has happened to him. And I will start a little bit from a little bit of a beginning, I understand. He's a fighter pilot. And what a fighter he was. I mean, if you imagine him as a young man, strong, determined, fearless. My hat is off. I don't have a hat. But the point is, it's just a way of saying how much I appreciate this man. Now he's dying from cancer. Yes, he's not going to make it. And if he does, there won't be much of him. But I know how to overcome all that. And that's the reason why, one reason why I'm going to talk about cancer. I've discussed that many times before. But it doesn't seem to get into people. Lots of people have been saved, when I say been saved, through me, but not from me. It's very important to understand that I'm not representing myself. Pardon me. I am representing my Father in heaven, which has taught me how to do this. If I go watch my throat, excuse me. Maybe I shouldn't have been here today, but I'm going to do the best I can. You'll excuse me. This is very important. And if I have a cough or two, you'll forgive me. This is very important. It must be said. And so everybody knows, everybody who is old enough to know what happened to him, he crashed in Vietnam. And he was in prison 5 years and tortured horribly. Now what happened to him would happen to you if I just upset you. The whole idea of torture, especially to our soldiers who are trained to resist giving themselves to the enemy. It is almost impossible if you have 5 years of torture, horrible torture, mental, emotional, physical. What you see of him now as a senator, John McCain, is 1/4 of what he was. And he's done the best he could, but he doesn't realize what kind of change has taken place in him. With all due respect, my audience here, I could do to you, I don't mean to be rude, I can do to you in 5 minutes to cause you to have cancer into the future. If I wanted to do it, I don't have to be the torturer that give you the torture that John McCain yielded to eventually. You can see that he's a changed man. And he cannot help the change. And the change has made him, excuse the expression, to some degree an appeaser. He is not strong. And to be political, the forces in politics have put Obama and him for president. And the reason, this is behind the scenes. You do not see behind the scenes, and you don't expect the media to tell you the truth about anything. They are a lot of liars. And Russia, whoever was in charge of propaganda, they know what they're doing, because what they've been doing to America has been happening for the last 50, 60, 70 years. It takes that long to capture America and enslave us all. And the way they enslave us is to make sure that they get the president that will do what they want him to do. And Obama got that way. Slowly but surely, I'll come back to John McCain. But over a period of time, the left wing of what's the party's name? Democratic Party has been getting worse and worse and worse, and I've been yelling and screaming for 55 years, and the media that was dependent on him, that is Obama. But the second one was Senator McCain, right? John McCain. In other words, whichever one you'd voted, he unconsciously would, not so efficiently as Obama, but he's the next one. So you have two people running, and both on the same side, and he doesn't see it. Do you understand that?
Because he was traumatized by resisting the enemy when he was a young man.
Trying to resist.
He tried to resist then, but somehow they got into him, so that now instead of resisting, he's sort of conforming to.
He has become, how did you say it?
He's conforming to the enemy.
Conforming, that was the word I was looking for. He is conforming, and he may be aware of it, but cannot stop it. Cannot. He's not the same person when he came back. But the outcome of that, the result of that, what he went through in 5 years of torture, I can do it to anybody in this audience in 5 minutes. Because he's a soldier. He has been trained. He's understood. It's understood that when he's captured, the enemy is going to squeeze it, and he has to resist, right, because he'd feel ashamed. But 5 years, and because he's so well known, they pressed it on him harder and harder. And he resisted, but the resisting was actually a cause of the problem.
That's right. No one understands that.
May I see it? We have an audience. Did you see what I just said? Can you just put up your hand? How many people understand what I'm saying? And we got a soldier, a strong fighter pilot, and he was famous for his ability. But if you look at him now, it's not the same person. No. I'm almost 90, I'm not as glib as I used to be, but I'm still me. I'm even more, how can I say it, without being braggadocious? I don't have the vocabulary that I used to have, but
What I notice is
What?
you get to the heart of the question immediately.
Yes.
It may simply be a four-word comment to someone, and you hit them right on the button.
Well,
And you don't even know where it comes from.
Well, you see, what has happened is what seems to happen to all old people. I'm almost 90, as I said. My vocabulary has disappeared, so you may have to help me a little bit. But in its place is intuition. And intuition only needs a few words, nothing sophisticated, which is clear, beautifully simple and clear. The Bible's like that, simple, but you may not understand what is being said because there's something behind the spoken word, the written word. If Jesus was here, it would be different. But when you read it, it's not the same.
No.
There's no energy behind it. There's no divine energy behind it, which makes it valuable. I see that. It's a life force. It overcomes the darkness of all the suffering that we have as a child. There's hardly anybody who's come up and survived their parents. When you come into the world, the culture of the world gets inside you. And so we have behavior with respect to the fact that whichever part of the world we come into, whichever the culture is, it will get to you in the various ways of cruelties. I'm thinking about Borneo and cannibals. They elect a cannibal king to love them the way they are and to make what's wrong with them right forever. And you see how long it's been for thousands of years. They eat each other and glorify in it. And so there is similar things going on to varying degrees. The less of all of it is in America. But now, America isn't the same. They've succeeded with putting Marxists into the schools, the universities, and now I've been warning them and screaming. You know me 50 years. You hear me talk about that all the time. They're coming, they're coming, they're coming, they're doing it. And right now, in the university, 1 out of 5 women are being violated to the worst degree, and they don't see anything wrong with it.
They've made a sin out of modesty. Women should have modesty, men should have modesty. Now it is a sin to have modesty.
But the point is, you and I haven't got a chance to speak our
Is it like another language when we try to talk to the young, almost?
And so, you see, we are being divided. And we are putting our kids into the universities and paying them to screw their minds. And that's what you've got. And we are going to have, you've heard me talk about revolution. What's another word of a revolution?
Civil war?
Civil war. Thank you very much. I appreciate
it. They call it the CCW, the Cold Civil War.
Okay.
Meaning it's a civil war that may not be violent, but it's going to be a civil war nonetheless. It may be violent.
What we really need to do is understand what's happened and kick ourselves and for not listening to Roy Masters, because I've been on the air but you couldn't hear me.
Couldn't hear.
Everybody, I had a bad reputation, and I've never done anything wrong in my life, according to what they say, how bad I am.
I know.
But that's all right. I'm still here. And I'm going to go ahead of things. I've been doing things quietly with the soldiers and things like that for many years. But I'm not getting to all of them. What I want to do is to get to the whole country, not just to the military who are beginning to understand me, and I'm able to help them with their problems. I want to take John McCain and make a point now. I've laid a little something or other. I want to make sure that there are, how can I say it? Well, I've said it many times in this way. 95% of every disease on earth, and all have the same root. Cannibals have it, ISIS has it, and we have it. And the nice Christians have it. And they're trying their best to be a Christian, but they're not going to make it. It's better than being a cannibal. There's a degree of behavior. But the behavior, as good as it is, does not cure you, because the behavior isn't perfect. It has to do with a change of ownership. In other words, the world owns you, and you're the extension of the world. As you come into the world comes into you, and you don't know what's happened to you.
Even if you have a good culture, you're still an extension of that culture.
Exactly. And the good culture has lots of money and lots of friendships and nice people and halfway decent people. Not like Donald Trump. He's all the way through.
But he's anti-culture.
Yeah, that's right.
And the people in culture on both sides feel it, and they're
We
afraid
don't
of
need
it.
a culture. We do not need culture.
They hate that he breaks the rules,
Yes,
and that's what makes it great.
in other words, you can't move him. And you wouldn't be able to poison him. You wouldn't be able to, what was the word?
Subvert him?
Yes, subvert or torture. Mm-hmm. He would survive it. I would too, because I've had suffering all my life. I've been through everything. And I've learned never to get upset, never to try to fix myself. I don't know how I was able to see this ever since I was small. Nothing ever irritated me. Not that I made a mistake here and there, once or twice, I can remember. I said, oh, I learned something from it. When you learn something from it, it's gone. And what I learned is, and looking back, I didn't know it then, but I really know it now, that emotions are dangerous. Men and women, human beings, must not use emotions to function. But the minute you come into the world and your parents are the extension of the world, and in America you go back as many years, 250 years, every family is the extension of the beginning family. And even the good ones aren't good enough, but plenty good enough to get something going better. It's the best they can do. But what's missing is the fact that we are all emotional. And because we're all emotional, we can be had. We can be demoralized and not know it. We can be demoralized and not know it and compensate so that it doesn't show. That you do all the right things, but with the wrong motions and wrong forces inside you. I'm saying that your emotions can be used to convert you to anything if you yield to it. And so what you got, I'm coming to
John McCain.
John McCain, thank you very much, I appreciate it. I'm coming to him in just a minute. Because I'll jump to it and get it going quickly. What happened to John McCain? Senator, correct, Senator. Is happening to everybody in this audience. None of them are themselves. None of them have the intuitiveness as skilled working into intuition that never stops. Let me just talk about a little philosophy, and then I'll talk about John McCain a little bit. But if I went surfing on a surfboard, naturally, you and me, especially me, I've tried it. I'll fall on my butt. Okay, but it's all over. And I don't want to do it. It doesn't worth anything. But if I was to do it, fall off, that's a try. Good. Okay? And then tomorrow you try the same thing. And maybe a little bit. You can do it. Just a little bit. You can even stand up in it. And then the next day, and it goes like that. Everything is just a little tiny thing, right? And that little tiny thing in 2 years, I don't know how long it takes to be able to go down 50-foot wave. But each time you do it, it only means a little thing. And then the next day is another little thing. And the next day is another little thing. Everything is made of lots of little things that don't sprout until they're time to sprout, like to cancer. That's what I'm coming to. And so, to the degree you do the opposite, you go nowhere. In other words, what I'm saying is those little things that I'm talking about in life, not just talking about the surfboard, but just using it as a point. Everything that happens to you in life has to be guided by a light that is in us when we're born. It is in every child. You can't say a child is born. You can't say a child is born as a sinner. But every child comes into the world. Every child comes into the world with intuition. And if you leave them alone, if you stand back and stop trying to push knowledge or religion down their throat, especially Jesus down their throat, it will either cause them to think that Jesus, the word Jesus and doing Jesus is making you as good as Jesus. No, it's not. Because you're only listening to the language and you're motivated by the world around you and you're trying your best to be Jesus kind. That will kill you. You're programmed. And one person sees it as a program and runs and does just the opposite. He does a lot of bad things. He sees it, you see. And the other person is nice and quiet and loves Jesus, but they don't know what love is. And so, either side, the one that gets angry and runs away and has a bad life, may one day wake up to see it. But the people who think they don't understand Jesus will never wake up because they think they have him. And their behavior.
Surround themselves with people who talk the same way.
Correct.
That's their culture. That's their cannibal culture.
But that's a disease. And so, what I'm saying, there's only two factors to disease. And both of them lead the same way. So, if you give in, and give in to your mother and father that takes you to church or whatever it is, and if you want to get a degree, then you do the same thing. You make sure you go to a psychology class. You have to take the psychology class, but it's Marxist stuff. It's cleverly designed. So what you're doing is sending your kids to school and paying for their programming, fascist program. I'm laying a ground here. Now we're going to come back to Senator John McCain. It took 5 years to break him, but he was broken. He was trained to experience that when he's incarcerated in the enemy country. But what this does is to change his behavior from a powerful person and guilted into an appeasing person. And it takes torture to do it. A lot of torture and self-hating, see. And so therefore in him, with a greater force, a terrible force, a struggle that he was fully aware of. What I'm talking about is you're not fully aware of. I can do this to my audience or to anybody, but almost anybody, take advantage of that and get them to be subject to me, to please me, or hate me and run, and hate me so much that it will work all by itself.
They will love to hate you
Yeah.
and be addicted to the hate.
They begin to enjoy it.
And they're completely focused on you now.
And they can smile and hate me at the same time.
Yeah, I see them.
Yeah, okay. Now, what I'm trying to say to my audience here is, well, maybe I should ask, put your hand up. Who understands what I said about John McCain and you? It's the same. You got two choices in life after you come into the world, and you become poisoned by it. In other words, you had it when you were born, and your parents had it when they were born, and you go all the way back to Paradise Lost, the first person born of woman. It's covering the waterfront, the whole human race. Whether it's a cannibal or whether it's ISIS, it's all a matter of degree. And the cannibal or ISIS gets its power from degrading of us. And what you're hearing on your media, or any kind of media, is fear. In other words, the enemy does terrible things to America, terrible things, cutting off heads, everything, and terrifying people who can be terrified. And it's very easy because you've only got two kinds of people, and who terrorizes them more, terrorizes him away from the person who's terrorizing him and using him, and transfers it to the bullies if they think they're going to come across the border. And we're seeing crime and corruption growing, and it's being taken advantage of media. They understand if they can lie to you and intimidate you, some of you will go along with the fear that they put in you, see, and be subject to that origin, to believe a lie as the truth, and to feel respect to that lie that made them lying in the first place. So they do not know what they're doing. Americans must not. America is the opportunity, the place where you can give up yourself to a bully or to God. And if you don't give yourself to your bully, give yourself to God, you will try to fix yourself. When you try to fix yourself, you'll make yourself worse. You're playing God. And when you find an appeaser, you're playing God. You force him to be upset and yield to you, and then you give him reward. You say what a nice person he is, and make him feel guilty. The more he feels guilty, the more he feels like he's done something wrong, maybe, but he does not know how to fix the wrong. So he either turns around and does to somebody else what was done to him, so he's become the person. And there's a system of that, see. There's only these two, a bully and an appeaser. There is, in emotional states, if you had no emotion, if you could sit quietly and realize your emotion is going to kill you, make you a slave of a bully, or make you a bully and have your own slave. That's all there is to it. And then you take your sense of direction you go in your life with the person who, whatever crazy thing he has. So many crazy things, but whatever the crazy things is still a subject. They're subject to the crazy person. He doesn't see as crazy. He gets praised if he continues to be crazy. And we're talking about crazy. He doesn't see the crazy thing. He doesn't see that there's something wrong. When he sees there's something wrong and he's get angry, then guilt comes in. And then he tries to make things better by appeasing the bully. He can never get away except to become a bully to somebody else. But I said that because that's all that you need to destroy a country. So you have weak, there are two parties, Democrats and Republicans. So you have Republicans that are really wicked in the South. What was the South for the
segregation and all.
Yeah, you have what we call Republican, as a wicked Republican, and then you have wicked Democrats, right? I mean, it's all different forms and different shapes. And what we have now is a divided country. And for the most part, the damage has been done because we had John McCain, Senator John McCain, and Obama. Each one would have obeyed without realizing it. Maybe Obama is aware of it and likes it, but John McCain has been programmed. And I can tell you he's an appeaser. And he's a nice man, but he isn't John McCain. And you can see it. You can see that he wants to be a good person. He is a good person. I love John McCain, if I can use that word love, because it means something else, really. But I appreciate him. I think he is a noble person, but broken. And nobody can fix him. But the broken part, now I'm coming to what the brokenness is. He is giving his life. He gave his life to the enemy, and he doesn't see it. You give your life to your father. You give your life to your mother, and you're the extension of your mother. Who understands that? See that? And it's mostly mother, because the father is weaker. The woman is stronger than the man. Ever since paradise was lost, Adam got disconnected from God and connected to the woman, who was connected without realizing what it is to the dark side of the force that carries through the whole human race. It's called emotion. In other words, we're part human and part animal in conflict with that state. Follow that so far? All our anxieties, every anxiety is the same thing. If you didn't have emotion, nothing can touch you. But you can't have nothing. You have to have an emotional driving force. You understand that?
Yes.
You run, you fight. The monkey runs and fights.
You need a source of energy.
Yes. You need a source of energy. But animals cannot find the energy we can have. We are built not to just reproduce ourselves and die. We have the possibility of reproducing ourselves, seeing, having done the job of being a good father and a good mother, and learning what the problems are, and finding God in physics, because it's really there. There's
He's in the universe around us.
There's a universe, and then there's the origin of the universe comes from the void. In the beginning, there was a void. You need a void to have anything, because you have to have space, and the space is void, cold, nothing. So it begins with nothing, and then all of a sudden it says, "Let be light." And where does something come from? Another realm. And I don't want to take you down that track.
But I want to take what you say about physics and put it in context of us as humans.
Right. Yes.
Because if you don't have a void inside yourself, there's no place for God to come in. You have to realize you have to hunger. He talks about it in the Bible, hunger and thirst for righteousness. You have to let that emptiness in you, that pain of emptiness, be there and wait for Him to begin to fill it.
But the trouble is, one person hungers and thirsts for righteousness and looks for a bully to love him.
That's right. We're filling it with the wrong energy.
And the country is so bad that when Obama was elected, you stupid people. But the next best thing, and all this is put behind the scenes, no one talks about it. But I have to. I love that man. I don't want to see him, but he's an example of a person why you get cancer.
Yes.
He wants to be a good person. He was strong, powerful.
What his mistake is, tell me if I'm wrong, his mistake is that
like
now when he wants to be strong, he reaches for the old strength he had as a young man, and he's got trauma with that. And so he, instead of being strong with this anger energy, he becomes weak with complying, and he goes along to avoid the pain of the conflict.
Sooner or later, I don't know how a person on earth, I don't know what I would do. But at least I can talk about it if I was subject to that myself.
Yes.
But I have learned, without knowing, or without being able to express it or see it for what it was, I did know that there's only two problems that has many variations of behavior, but it's still the same. And depending on what disease you get, you smoke, you drink, you eat too much. Whatever it is, you're looking for fulfillment. And every fulfillment is pleasure, and excitement, and feeling good.
Feeling right.
Feeling right. And so even the person, what do you call it?
Dope addict?
Dope addict. They look for the next drug. And the drug pusher rises to the occasion of his need as a servant. But he's really the slave.
Yes.
See?
They're all servants and slaves without knowing it.
But you see, I use that language to make the point of that rising from the darkness of Brazil, the jungle there, where they make the pot, whatever but they're looking for that. I got to have a feeling. I got to have a feeling. I'm fulfilled by feeling, because feeling gives you a sense of being alive and being right. See, and conflict is deadened just for a moment, and then you go on to more, and you get worse. The more you get, the worse you get. The better you feel, the more you want to feel.
But that conflict you talk about is the difference between man and animal. That conflict is that God's identity, he has a way of writing in our nature that there's a problem here being an animal like this. We feel that conflict and most people run from it. But that conflict is what drives you through life, whether you choose to see it or not.
Well, when we have been afflicted since childhood, we only know that what comes out of our mouth and what comes out of our thoughts and how the thoughts are generated. We think that it's us. We're individuals and we're free. And we're free to do all kinds of wrong. But some of us want to do the right thing, and you go to church. And you've got 10,000 different churches, everyone teaching you the same similar things to varying degrees, going right back to being accountable. There's not much difference. You've been programmed. Every person on earth is programmed. And every person on earth has the same problem, which leads to different kinds of diseases. But coming to the disease of
John McCain,
it's the same thing as if you've been bullied. He has been, to a tremendous degree. Mm-hmm. And none of these people here could suffer them one day, 1 hour, and give in. But they've done it. It's happened. And it was even before you realize, you become aware, you've lost it. Because you've seen, as you come into the world, if you can actually live long enough to be 2 or 3 years old, you can see your stupid parents that can't see themselves. The husband doesn't see anything wrong because he wants sex. That's all he wants. He just wants sex, and then you give her a nice car. He just wants something from her. And she wants something from him, but he hasn't got it.
And they both want something from you as a child.
And so they get so angry, but what's important here, and then we go back to John McCain in a minute. What's happening here is that the children get a glimpse. Many of them don't have that, but most do. I can tell you, this audience here, they saw their parents for what they were. And sometimes into a great distance because they can't fix it. They know there's something wrong. They know that the mother is too kind, or the mother is too cruel. But she rises to the occasion of your need because your father's mad, crazy. But you take on them. The anger in you requires fulfillment, and you've got 2 choices: to become like an angry person and make other people serve you, or you serve your mother or whoever it is, makes you codependent. And there it is again. There's only 2 things you can do, and every one of them lead to disaster, and every one of them lead, depending upon what you eat, drink, whatever it is, whatever you're a cannibal, whatever it is, you cannot get rid of it. You cannot fight it. If you fight it, you can't save yourself.
Yes.
The monkey can't save itself. It dies and produces other monkeys.
But they don't need saving.
They don't need saving. They are doing exactly what they're supposed
right.
to do. And even the caterpillar will do exactly what it's supposed to do. There's forces in it, which we can't talk about, but you see the point, right? And so, what causes cancer is half the country, half of you here, half the country will die from cancer, roughly. And the other will die from eating too much. Basically in the emotion. The tendency to abuse food. You remember in the beginning, it was all about food, wasn't it? The tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You can eat of all the other trees, but not this one. It's food. And who is in charge of the food? The woman, right? And every time you eat something from your wife, and not understanding what I'm talking about, not being fully aware of it, is that she encourages him and makes the best dinners unnecessary to get him to love her. But that's not love. It's God, she is emboldening him to need her. See? But then if she is able to do that, she hates it because it's encouraging her to be more devilish and frustrated. What she wants is what animals can't have: love. And love exists only beyond, how can I say it? How can I say it? Just let me be physics, do a little physics. Excuse me. A little physics. In the beginning, there was a void. And it's underneath gravity. It's more fundamental, if you know what I mean by fundamental. It precedes whatever it is. Whatever it is next. First of all, there's the void, see, and darkness on the face of the deep. That's how they presented it in this process of what will be the future and what will become the universe. And so I'm making a point because it's something that we need to understand as people. And then you hear something like, and then it says in the scripture, let there be light. Now here's the problem, the physics problem, and it's a metaphysical problem, religion. They come together there. Because they have to, the scientists have to explain what they call the singularity is still there after trillions of years, still there somewhere. As a little pinpoint, it looked like they used to be, a Big Bang, and the universe. That was ridiculous, of course. But what we're talking about now is a singularity. We call it a singularity, but God, it's really what's God saying, let there be light. Yes. And it's still light. It never has changed. And the void is forever. So you have a universe, something flowing like a battery. You got a battery in the sky to begin with, once energy flowing already.
And the flow of the energy creates the whole reality that has developed.
Yes, but that's the life of the universe. That what I was just said is the light of the universe. It's what causes everything to... Now we're going to go, that's the first one. 1, 2. It's little pieces taking... So the next particle, and the next particle, and the next evolution, we call it evolution, slowly but surely it becomes the universe. Bit by bit by bit, but billions of years, which means nothing to us, right? I mean, we don't understand.
To us, but not to God.
But there's got to be some other place.
Yes.
In other words, we know there's a void, but now there isn't a void, but the void is still there somewhere.
Because
we're still
flowing.
Moving into it.
We can see it. Everything's moving out.
Yes, that's right. So if there's a void and it's moving out and making a universe, then something is beyond the void. There's another side to the void, rather than this one, which is flesh and blood. Are we getting somewhere here? Just little tidbits. But the beautiful thing is you and I and my audience. They are meant to live forever. We human beings are very special. Otherwise, the most advanced creature is a monkey or a gorilla. And they're not meant to live forever. Look what we're given to know is endless. It's endless to know what God is and to always yield to his wisdom. In other words, I started my program with you saying everybody has the same problem. And everybody dies from the same problem because they inherited paradise lost. It can't be stopped but then it says narrow is the way and few are those that find it. It is such a tiny little thing we're talking about here. A tiny, tiny little thing, like a beginning is a tiny thing with respect.
Starts out small.
Yeah, always. And everything grows from that, just like the person with the sport, the surfing board, yes. Everything we do is a little thing at the time. Those little things must be coming through you from the inside. Now, you may not understand what the inside is. I don't know what the inside is, but I'm inside it.
But it's beyond the mind.
Oh, yeah.
It's before the mind.
It's a realm.
Yes.
There's a realm that created the universe, but there's a realm beyond the void. Mm-hmm. There's another kind.
And we're meant to be part of that realm.
But, yes, and so I woke up one morning a couple of years ago, just a few years ago, and said, oh, I see it completely. I'm in that realm. I'm subject to him. That's why I don't have any emotions. I've always said you shouldn't, but I could see the realm is in me. There's another realm that is dark, beyond the void in the world, and still going into the void to become more of the world. There's no end to his creation, no end, forever. And so there's a forever for us too. The universe is not going to collapse. What's the good of living forever? And Jesus Christ saying, and in the very beginning in the garden, it says, if you do what I say, you could have that tree over there, and you can live forever. That didn't bother him a bit. But that's how it all began. God will forgive them in the end, because he's produced us to suffer. And the suffering has a value, if you don't curse it. And you will curse it as long as you have emotion, because you've inherited something. You've inherited being something less of a human. Mm-hmm. So that
the ego nature.
Yeah, it's something. It's something that's in conflict with its human. It's an animal human in conflict with a spiritual union, mm-hmm. and subject to the world.
Yes.
And the world is full of darkness, as it was when it first happened. They went into the world. They lost the paradise lost, and they went into the world, and the world became what you see it. Only two things, and you have to understand everything that you got wrong with you is from other two things. You're the bully, and you have certain sicknesses and diseases, drink, drugs, hatefulness, hurting your kids, because the kids have too much light and they hate the light. Actually, parents hate the light. They cuddle the child more than needs to be cuddled.
When the mother is impatient with her child and the child begins to cry, and then the mother says, "Oh no, I love you," that is a lie, and she wants the child to buy it.
And the love itself, what you call love, the child is smart enough to see
it, but she's trying to put that light out.
and then he resents it,
Yeah.
and then she becomes guilty, and then when you become guilty, she cures the guilt by doing more for mama, and hate father, both hate father, and for good reasons, because he's not a man.
And some children want to love the father because they hate the mother, and they see the mother hates the father,
And there's
but
lots
then the father somehow fails them.
There's so many things in behaviors, and the behavior that Senator McCain, the behavior, I'm talking about behavior. I know what he's going through. I know he's suffering. And I know he's struggling to be a better person. But he tends to be halfway between two things, like we often are. And he's in conflict. But the conflict is the struggle he has to be as much of an American as he can be. And he is. He's not like a person we never heard before, but Obama. He just came out of nowhere.
Right.
Correct.
He had no history that we knew of.
Yes. But Vietnam connects to all of these other things to destroy America. And that's why they had those two people on the stage. Either one will work for the left.
For the other side, yes.
Yeah. And thank God for Trump. But they, again, he's like the father they never had. And if you're not a good wife, you may hate him for that and go off to somebody else that you can manipulate. See that? So it doesn't always bring out what you think should be.
Roy,
Yes.
when you have a moment, can I say something?
I stop. Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to add to your conversation about myself and about
you
my
want her to sit here?
existing-
No. Oh,
Would you like to
do
sit
you
here?
have much to say?
I don't know.
Come on, just for a minute.
Okay.
That would be nice.
I think it's in context to what we're talking about, and I grew up with you, but I'm seeing for the first time, I always talked about all these stories about my dad, just all this stuff, but what I'm seeing now is the nature in me and my relationship with my mom, which my mom was forced to have me. My mom hated me. And my dad.
How do you mean force?
She was 16 and she got pregnant, and they forced her to marry my dad. She did not want that. She did not want my dad or me. And she was a very angry person. So my mom, and I'll talk about my mom, but I don't want to make it about my mom.
There's a point there you're making.
My mom, so what I'm seeing in my relationship to people and the world,
It's an extension.
I'm reflecting my relationship and rejection of my
Yes.
mom
You can't get away
with
from it.
everything.
You don't have to have the same person. It's other people
Yeah,
like
I
it.
pull it out of them.
Yes.
I pull the bullies out, and then I hate them. But I honestly am just with my mom. I only lived her there till I was 14 and went with my dad, but there was so much on both sides. And it's okay. I mean, I don't know if it's okay, but it is what it is. But then I think back. I was sitting there the other day and I was seeing that I was seeing my part. I was seeing
Very
me
good.
almost like a baby in a crib. Where I'm just reflecting out that.
Extension.
But then I would think, feel sorry for myself and think, what if I had a good mother or a good father and all of that, which we all go through. But then I realized, that doesn't matter either, because it's still a reflection of the parents, and it's not a reflection of.
You've become an
it's still,
extension.
like you say, sometimes you just say, I was always myself. I had myself, and I go home and I think, man, wouldn't that be beautiful to know you always had yourself when I've never had myself.
Yeah, but
I
I
am a
have a
piece.
disadvantage. You have an advantage. And you don't realize it. You can appreciate it more than me. Now, there's a story in the Bible. One man owned, in those days, there's a prison for people who owed money, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, a debtor's prison.
Yes. And so Jesus says, one man owed $50. I
Right?
use it then. Okay. And the other guy needs $1,000. Okay. So the system forgave them both. All right. He says, who would be the most happy? Who would be the most pleased? And the answer was the person who had $1,000 owned. He would have stayed in prison longer. See,
Oh.
and he would be
Oh, I see.
happy. So you listen. Don't be jealous of me. See, actually, you are doing better than me because the pain drove you oh so much, and then you're forgiven. Can I tell you how you're forgiven? Because when you come into the world, there's me again talking about that, because the world is the culture came into you, so you're the extension of your parent and trying not to be.
But
And the great suffering there is good for you. It brings you to appreciate it better than me.
it's just that I could see my part rather than, oh, he's a bully, she's an abuser. You could see the roles. I could understand, but I couldn't see me
But
drawing it
but
out.
but stop there for a minute. I didn't see anything. I just see anything wrong. I couldn't. I saw things that were wrong, but it's all right. I mean, I never had the suffering. My
So,
wife has given it to me, but it still doesn't bother me.
but even my relationship with you, because my dad listened to you when I was very little, and unfortunately he was very broken and angry, and we've talked about him, and he committed suicide. And
See,
so my relationship with you got, and so it's like, and I've been like a puzzle. Have been a piece together person of this person.
it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then one
I mean,
morning,
it's okay.
one morning,
But
one morning you wake up, it's all gone. And I'll tell you what's going to happen.
I
You
might as well just confess everything because, and have a little
just
problem
did.
with beer and wine, and I want to drink beer and wine. A
It's
little
all
bit
one
of
thing. It's all one
It's
thing.
all one thing.
All one thing.
Okay.
You're
Well, I
not,
appreciate it.
you're not guilty. You are not guilty of anything. How can a baby born into the world and the world got into them before they even knew there was? But they knew something's wrong. And it took, but it's a struggle.
Yeah.
Listen what Jesus says. Every bad thing happens for those who love the Lord. What good is it if you have nothing to test you? The test is you come into the world and the world comes into you and you have conflict. But the evil ones don't have conflict. They have conflict with good people. They hate the good. The light shines on them, even in a baby. That's why ISIS kills children, because they're so bright and they're terrified of them. They want to kill them. You understand the nature. And the left wants to kill us. They do. They've fallen into that realm. And we've let it happen. It's called freedom. It's not freedom. It's slavery on their part. They're enslaved to the darker side of the force. And they hate the President Trump because he's real. And that's okay. It only makes him stronger. You don't worry about him. He's got it. Now I want to come back to, I think you want to continue my thoughts with um,
John McCain.
John McCain. Thank you. You give him the mic back.
Oh.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh. Oh, I didn't know what you want me to go back.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, but you're okay now. You are going to have experience as you look at your thoughts. You'll be able to see your thoughts and realize, I'm not going to fight that. That's not me. I see. You're fighting it. You're fighting the spirit in you, and you can't save yourself. Once you realize you can't save yourself, you don't give in. But something is telling you you can't save yourself. You don't have the life. You don't have your hands on eternal life. You are a client of eternal life. I see it in you. You'll be fine. Trust where I'm coming from. There's a realm. And I'm in that realm. And from that realm, I can see everything clear. Nothing bothers. I frighten people away. I frighten the bad ones away. And I'm not bothered by the fact that I get screwed sometimes, if you pardon the expression. Now I'm going to come back to John McCain, because all of that is in him, multiplied by 100. I don't know what to say. And he's a loyal person, but he's got two loyalties. He's in conflict. And there's a tendency to struggle with that and get deeper into it and cover it up. Put a good face on. You understand that? And so he is doing this all the time, hating what is in him, hating the fact that he's lost who he is, and still not forgiving or letting go. He doesn't understand about forgiveness. He has been broken into
Being nice.
his forgiveness. In other words, he doesn't want to be that strong pilot anymore. He wants to be
Strong, angry pilot.
Yes, an angry pilot. That's exactly correct. That's very well said.
Because he's running from the angry pilot, but what it's made him is this other person, and that's why he's subject to cancer.
That's right. So in this particular case, there's a noble man who's not the same as he was. As he was, he wasn't perfect either. He was strong, handsome, clever, halfway decent. I don't know what the naughty boy he was before that. Who knows?
Who knows?
But he had a lot of
He had a sense of character,
strength.
what he wanted to be.
Yeah, but also, we don't know what his other side is, because in that kind of personality, he has lots of girls and things like that. Right. You don't know.
Right.
But he does. And so he on the surface, he loves airplanes. He hates evil. And he wants to kill them as much as possible, which is the soldiers. Mm-hmm. You're not going to mess with my country, kind of thing. But he also has problems. All the heroes have problems, but they still have that quality. Something in them that's beyond, but not perfect yet, not resolved, as perfect as it should be, because narrow is the way, and few are those that find it. I'm here to help everybody to understand how beautifully simple it is. You've only got two problems. You're a bully. You're the extension of the person who bullied you, subject to it. You become the bully to somebody else, and so on. Or you become an appeaser. Senator
McCain
has given in. In other words, he doesn't want to be strong like those other people like he was in some way. He's feeling guilty. There's guilt in there because he gave in, couldn't help it. And if he if he doesn't see, he couldn't help it. I can't find what I want to say. He cannot, he either knows, he either recognizes it or doesn't. But I'm sure that he has an awareness that he cannot change what was done to him.
And there's conflict.
And therefore, the more he struggles, the spirit of the people. In other words, when you are corrupted, you don't need the person anymore. The person can die, and still you can hate him, and he's not there.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And live off that energy.
Yeah. And so he's put on a face, which is very important. He is a decent person, even with that face. He's a decent person, but struggling to keep himself decent. And it takes a lot of energy. But the more energy he uses, the worse he gets. The worse he gets, the more important it is to be a better person. He wants to be like he was before or near it. But the anger is causing the guilt. And the guilt is unconsciously giving the adversary his energy. It could be anybody that's irritating him. Anybody. And it could be angry with himself, and he feels sorry for himself or angry with himself. But he wants to get rid of whatever that is. All the memories and everything. It's a tremendous amount of horror that's in him. It's not just like you standing in your parents' shoes.
Right.
That's bad enough. This is torture. But everybody is tortured, in a manner of speaking. When you go to school and you go to university, you're being tortured. You're being programmed. And you may not recognize it because you want to get your degree. And so therefore you do everything they say. Goodbye for you. See that? They can put any kind of crap in there. Mm-hmm. And you eat that crap, pardon the expression, because you want the degree. And then you extend it to somebody else. When with your degree, if it's a psychiatrist, psychologist, he would speak like a communist. He wouldn't be wanting to cure any, but he doesn't know that. He thinks he's curing everybody by lying, by the fact that he is a psychiatrist, and therefore he's able to fix what's inside his head, and nobody can do that ever. Mm-mm. I couldn't. I wouldn't. But what's really real is for me to reach him, so he doesn't have to struggle with himself and give up energy to the dark forces that are within him, and to play the role of a decent person, which he is, but it's a played role, and he's not happy with that either. He's a smart man.
Yes.
So what is happening is to his immune system. It's like with anything else, like asthma. If you have a child, if your child is the mother is too nice, and she's always too nice, and she wants this and she wants that, and she keeps nagging the kid, upsetting the kid, trying to fix the kid. The kid is getting resentful, and there's a name of I always forget the name.
Leukemia?
But yes, no. But it's the energy.
Oh.
It's the energy of emotion that's diminishing his ability. The
adrenaline?
Adrenaline.
Okay.
Adrenaline is drained, and so is the draining of your immune system. And all get drained, depending. So you have a disease with respect to one or the other. See that?
So the mother is draining his energy right out of him in her love, and that is making him weaker. And the more he gives, the weaker he gets, and all of a sudden anything.
But it's not just weakness. is the fact that as he becomes less, so the, what's the name of,
The adrenaline?
not the adrenaline,
The asthma? Asthma? No, I'm not sure what you're...
leukemia.
Ah.
Leukemia has to do with, yes, but it has to do with the energy. I had it. I had it just there. The immune system. The immune system experiences, if you have a wicked king and he takes all your life away, you have a resentment towards the wicked king and you want to fight back. And that makes the king more powerful and gives him the reason to kill you. That is what's happening when you losing your immune system. Instead of your immune system, the cells eating all the other invading cells. The invading cells eat his cell,
Yeah.
the ones that keep him healthy.
Right.
Because that system changes with respect to 100 other cells that could infect you. It knows what to do. We don't understand it. We don't know it's there even. We don't know that we had such a system. But now we do. And so the cells are living cells and they poison each other. What they do, they don't eat each other so much, but they poison each other. It's a war.
In some cases, the immune system is so turned around, it attacks your own body.
Well, that's right, because you get weaker as a person as you give in. And therefore, the immune system reflects it and loses heart, so to speak. I don't know how to express it, but it makes the point
Or
clear.
it takes an aggressive action against an organ in your own body and begins to destroy it, which
Yes, it
threatens your life as
self-destructs.
well.
But it's usually mostly
Yeah.
a disease that they try to fix, but you never will fix it.
But
until
this is
you fix
all the
it.
physical manifestation of the emotional climate inside of you.
But the emotion has to do with adrenaline and
Energy.
that's right. That kind of energy to fight the invading cells. And if I could get to him, I would know if he would respect what I have to say. You never know.
You never know.
You never know. But I do believe if I could get to him before the doctors do and do him in, that he could be better in a week. That's all I want to say.
Yeah. All it would take would just be a few minutes, and you can see if he could see in you what you have found,
See that
and then he
lady?
could reach.
See that lady right there?
Yeah.
She sat there and she said, I see it. Gone. And everything that comes up from there
Just watch the same way.
is the same way, a little bit, a little bit.
And then now it remakes you the other way.
Right. A little bit. It doesn't have
Just
to
the
be
little
happening all
tiny
at
things.
once. It's happening. And you like that. It's freedom. That's what freedom is finding within you the God that built the universe. And the realm I spoke about on the other side of the void, if there's this side, there's going to be another side of the void. The void is there, and we're on this side of the void. Basically, it's flowing and growing and building little by little by little by little, but billions of years. And look, and then he put us, and everything dies, everything changes, and the only change we need is to change who is loving us.
Yeah.
And God is love. And I want to remind you that you've got to be very careful of the word love. because
It's terribly distorted today.
it's terribly distorted. Only entity it has to be. Only God is love. And when he
And his love may come into you in the form of revealing how wrong you are. And at first it hurts part of you, but if you let
Correct.
that hurt go, it's not a feeling, but you hunger for more of that kind of presence.
at first it's troublesome.
Yes, but you have to go through that.
And the troublesome may go till 60.
Yeah.
It can happen.
It can happen.
But it's not important.
No.
But you wake up one morning, and if you have the longing, the desire for what meaning life is, he will come to you, and he will take away emotion. The interesting thing is, he replaces the emotion with something else that you cannot possibly grasp.
I know.
It is the knowledge of everything which you are going to discover. You're going to spend. My life is discovering everything. I love the journey of discovering, and the journey must continue, and continue beyond your physical death, because there is something inside you that is taking shape. It's either ugly or beautiful.
And on those words, we need to draw this to a close. Is there something you want to add? We've been at this an hour and a half.
Well, might want to mention what's going to happen just in a few weeks.
Yes, we're to the audience. We're in the process. The wheels are turning in their own strange way, and we're in the process of having a movie made about Roy's life, and it's going to be a series of flashbacks and reproductions and interviews and old film and new film, and the filming crew is coming from faraway India in August, which is just a few weeks away for us right now, and they're going to be doing some filming here. So if you want to be part of this, go to FHU.com and you'll see a link about the movie. And if you want to be informed about any developments, if you want to be part of the volunteers who help to put this together both in Grants Pass and Los Angeles, if you want to in some way contribute to this effort, you can find the information in the links there. And we hope it'll be an exciting thing. It sort of has its own momentum. It's moving on its own theme. Once in a while something is done, but things are happening from all kinds of ways, and maybe they'll come together in a remarkable way. And we'll have, what I want is a documentation of Roy's life and his message, because his life is his message. And he has been sent, in my opinion, to bring this message to us. And it would be nice if we were able to produce it in a way that it's a story that people could see and understand all over the world. I mean, the film crew is coming from India, not from America.
The interesting thing about that is he was 20 years old when he was working at the foundation.
That's right.
And then I didn't see him anymore.
Yeah.
And then
Now he's very successful.
27 years later,
Yeah.
his whole life has changed.
And he's really pushing this to us. He says, I want to do this. And other people are coming forward. Some people from long ago are coming forward and saying, I want to be part of this too. And that's neat. And we would like to have those people come and contact us and see if they can in some ways be a part of this whole effort.
But I just want to say, I'm getting signals, so we need to close up this evening. This morning, I'm sorry. That you understood that life is simple. It's so simple, but it begins with a longing. What is the purpose of life? That's where I began. It came to me I don't know if it was in my mother's womb, but I remember I couldn't speak. I remember it was a baby of some kind. And it came into me, and it said, what is the meaning of life? And it sounded like language. It wasn't language, it was intuition talking to me. But when I look back on it, I can put it into words. And the beauty of this, of every race and color and creed, we all have that same intuition, but we can change it into the language. It actually resonates into the language itself if you find it. In other words, you have no emotion, but what you have is, find the word, another realm. And I'm sitting in that realm as I'm talking to you. And I'm losing some of my ability to sophisticated words. But I don't need those sophisticated words like Coca-Cola. See? I have a terrible memory. But the point is what I'm reduced to is the ability to see everything in the most simple ways. How they connect to something else. It goes on forever. Thank you. I got to say good morning,
Good day.
good evening, good night. Otherwise, I'd be talking all day long.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.